everyone can see my screen there.
Yes.
So, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. We're really here to give you a success story of one of our customers, Specialty Auto, um, that we were able to help through, our EDI integration. As you can see, save 50%. Now, it's kind of interesting. We met Jeff from Specialty Auto at the Acumatica show in Seattle. We had a booth there. And he came up and he was, he had a current provider and he kind of, gave us the story that he's been working with EDI for a while and lately he's been not very happy. We're going to touch on some very significant reasons on why he wasn't happy. But we were able to kind of talk him through what our process is and how we would have been able to save him that headache that he went through and ended up ultimately signing with us. But before we get to all that, let me give a brief background on us, on TrueCommerce. We do mainly EDI. As you'll see, again, we do a lot more than that now. But we were founded in, I want to say, 93 as a van, and then we expanded to enter the integration world, EDI endpoints, API, file. We work with a lot of different kind of connections now. Obviously, did many different ERPs, but today it's all about Acumatica. So, the story really highlights the three things that Specialty Auto and honestly any company is really looking for, and that's reduced operating costs, protecting the retailer relationships, and avoiding disruptions during technological changes. Specialty Auto, they're a supplier of automotive muscle car parts, basically based out of Detroit. So they ship worldwide to retailers and distributors. Like many suppliers, EDI is critical to their supply chain. It's how orders are received. It's how invoices are sent, shipping information sent between them and their trading partners. But their previous EDI partner, as I mentioned, really kind of dropped the ball and begun creating more problems than they were actually solving, which is ultimately what EDI and a supplier like us is supposed to do is solve issues, not create more of them. So let me go ahead, new slide. So Proform, that's kind of the parent company of Specialty Auto Parts, but for years their current EDI system was working fine. Didn't really cause any issues on their end. But then he started to notice, did it not switch? It did not
It did
switch.
not switch. I was just going to say.
Let me try that one more time. There we go. All right. So, for years the EDI system was running perfectly fine, humming along. And then there was ownership changes, and they made an acquisition of another company, and that's when a problem started arising. So the first issue really was, I guess, transparency. I'd want to call it. They said cost, the rising cost. Every year it went up 10% with no reason why, no value add to it, just right up the top. You owe us 10% more. They weren't getting anything for that 10%. They were paying more for it. Billing became harder to understand. No one would explain it to them. Their account reps would speak in circles around them if they could even talk to an account rep, which was a whole other issue they were dealing with. Support. They had trouble with support. Originally, it wasn't, they said it wasn't so bad, but, it got to the point where, it would take months to add a new customer or a new trading partner occurring. Any issues would take weeks and weeks to get solved. And then there's a compliance risk. As you see here, that's what I said one of the big reasons were they got $18,000 in fines, in chargebacks, EDI chargebacks. For those that don't know, EDI is a set of rules, basically. Like a trading partner, a big box retailer, think of, says, when you send me an invoice, I require this information. And if you don't meet that requirement, they hit you with a fine. They charge you for that. They're charging you because now they have to manually do some work on their end. So Specialty Auto, they received over $18,000 in fines due to a simple mapping error. It was basically the tracking bill of lading wasn't on the invoice. And they figured this out really quick, actually, what the issue was. The problem was it still took them a week and a half to fix that issue. So they just kept accumulating these fines over and over. There was nothing they could do. And they accumulated these fines. And at that point, when he finally reached out to his account manager, the best he got was kind of, I'm sorry, and we hope it doesn't happen again. We'll do our best. And then at that point, the relationship, he said, as far as he was concerned, it made him look bad. Obviously, he had to explain to his bosses why they got so much in fines. He was also rather new to the position. which made it even more under a microscope, of course. Um, and there was just some sort of mapping change on their supplier's end, and it caused all these issues. So, that's what made him go to the Acumatica Summit, honestly, was to look for a new provider at that point because he was at his wet's end. He said it wasn't just cost. Now it's just he lost complete confidence in his EDI provider. Um, and this is what they were looking for. You probably think that's pretty obvious, but sometimes you do have to kind of very plainly state it. I want integration. I want a seamless integration to my Acumatica. I want orders to flow in. I need the corresponding documents to go flow out. I don't want to have to manually do this. I don't want to have to make sure it's accurate every day. I just want it to work. Right? Predictable costs. I want to know what I'm paying for. I want to know why my bill is going up. Can you show me why this is happening? And we have an entire team dedicated to that. Not only that, we have an account management portal you can log into, and you can see line by line what you're being charged for. So nothing is hidden, nothing is like squirreled away in a secret, pricing folder somewhere. Compliance confidence. Retailers have very strict EDI requirements. As I mentioned, you have to fill out this information. It has to be correct. Even small mapping errors, as Jeff unfortunately found out, can lead to very, very large and expensive issues. And even at best, it can result in maybe an order not coming in, so you're not now going to get paid in it, or maybe an invoice not going out and you don't get paid in it. So, don't even think about getting fined $20,000. Think about just not receiving your payment for an order that you fulfilled. So these are all things that compliance, kind of goes back to, and what we're here to stop. And they were also looking for a true partner, someone who understands EDI and someone who understands the ERP. Someone who understands the business workflow of Acumatica. Someone who would take ownership of issues rather than passing it on to another team. Knowing who their single point of contact is was extremely important to Jeff. And we gave that to him. We said, this is your account rep. Any issues, you reach out to this person. And, we really, really were under a tight timeline with them. Their project started in April with the go live they wanted to be in September. And somehow we actually did that. Now, we didn't do it all by ourselves. The key factor that was a really good collaboration between us and Specialty Auto / Proform. They were very responsive. We can only do so much without someone on the other end, like a willing partner to work with us. That makes all the difference. So we're able to implement extremely fast if we have a very reactive and very involved partner. They work directly with us. So there's fewer layers of communication, less missed emails. It was just a very smooth and fast process in that respect. We got orders moving directly from us into Acumatica automatically, very quickly. Making sure that the data is still to this day flowing quickly, automatically, and accurately. He still hasn't had an issue. During that crossover period, he actually had 2 EDI providers at one point, his previous supplier and us. During that crossover period, we even took some of those invoices. Remember I was talking about with the BOL issues? We took those invoices, loaded them into our system, and showed them how that we would protect them in that exact instance. We didn't say, well, if you imagine this. No, we took that invoice, loaded its EDI onto our maps. Our maps wouldn't send it off to anyone. And I'm going to show us that in a few minutes. The system lets you know if you're missing a required field, and it won't allow it to send. And really, our entire portal, that's what it's for, is managing these sort of exceptions. And that's actually kind of what we're looking at here. Is you'll see on the left the trading partners, right? These are your different connections. Most of these guys are EDI. Now, Walmart has some API connections as well. So does HSN. So we can connect to many different retailers, not just EDI. We can connect to API gateways. If you have a small ma and pa shop kind of place, maybe dropping you a CSV or an XML file, we can work with that too. How about email? If you're getting a PDF attached to an email, we can typically have that come into our solution too. And you'll see that solution right here as it says Transaction Manager. That's our translator. That's our universal translator. So regardless of what the source of the order is, it's all going to come into that one universal translator. Going through our network, by the way, it is our owned network. It's not a van that we lease. Going through our EDI or XML mapping, making sure that their requirements are being met, right? And then getting into ultimately our solution transaction manager so that when we go and send it into Acumatica, aka Proform, we can get that data in there accurately and automatically. And then it goes the opposite way, right? Sending shipping information, it goes from Acumatica through our mapping. So think of any kind of translation you may need, unit of measure conversion, pricing conversion, goes out, goes into our translation now to our EDI maps, again, where we're validating against what the partner needs, and then we send it off. Everything in the middle here should be completely transparent, except for any sort of exception. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So ultimately, the $18,000 compliance risks, we nullified that. At the end of the day, they are paying 50% less for us than they were with their other provider. They're getting transparent billing, transparent pricing. After that 18K, that fining, the compliance issues, we're able to show them how we're gonna, we can stop that from happening. We can make sure we're sending only valid information with better mapping, accurate, direct support access, and then zero downtime during migration, by the way, which is kind of cool. Like I said, they were using two suppliers at the same time. So we basically slowly moved them over one transaction at a time, one trading partner at a time. So there was not a single missed transaction between the two EDI suppliers, going from automated on one to automated on the other without even a missed order. And that's, what we're really here to do is kind of simplify all this. And, it's kind of funny. We also added some operational improvements that they didn't even really know that they were looking for. We reduced some manual processes that were currently happening in Acumatica. We can do that with different 3PL connections that we can support. You know, oh, Jeff actually mentioned the EDI manager I keep talking about. He had an issue on Christmas Eve. And he reached out to our support. He immediately got support and he immediately got fixed on Christmas Eve. And he said that just wasn't, not only was that not possible before, but it still would have taken a week and a half to someone get back to him before. So he's been extremely happy and he's really, we're very happy that we're able to, give him the solution that he's been looking for. Now, that's really it as far as the slideshow goes. I am going to give you a real brief demonstration here. Now, as as Lauren can attest, I actually don't normally do these kind of presentations. I'm a sales engineer, so I usually give demonstrations. So this was my first time. I've been a sales engineer for 10 years, but this is the first time I gave any kind of presentation like this, so I apologize if it was bumpy. But let me go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing my slides and I'm going to show you. This is our solution here. This is Transaction Manager. I'm not going to give you a whole integration show. We don't have that kind of time. But I wanted to show you, here's an invoice. Here's an invoice with a missing data. See that red X? That means that we've created an outgoing invoice that's missing critical data. And gee, I bet you if I open it up, it's going to be missing a bill of lading. Now, even if I try and send this out, it's not going to go. We will not let it send. If I open it up, you'll notice you don't even have to validate every little piece of data. We highlight it in red. This little trail of breadcrumbs. Hey, we're missing the carrier pro. We're missing the tracking information. So this is exactly the setup that could have saved Jeff's company $18,000. Simple a field saying, hey, I'm not filled out, so I'm not going to send EDI. Now, what else can we do? Obviously, you can just reach out to support. We'll make a mapping change. You're good to go. What if you didn't want to reach out to support? What if you wanted to take care of this yourself? That's something not a lot of our competitors give you access to, but here it is. We give you some access for these mappings yourself. So if I come in, okay, we got an invoice going out. I want to make a mapping change there. I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit edit. This is our side. This is the transaction manager or EDI side of things. Notice they're all very, very simple, human readable. Here's the Acumatica side. So once you learn Acumatica pretty well, you can come in here and you can kind of see all the different Acumatica fields, the different screens inside of Acumatica. I'm going to go into my packages because I know that's where our tracking is. So if I'm getting those red X's, I can call TrueCommerce support, or I can come in here and just say, oh, there's my bill of lading. This is what I need to complete. I can come in here, click on that. Next time I bring an invoice in from Acumatica, it's not going to be an error anymore. Automation is resumed. So our portal gives you that stop, look, manage an exception. And then once you can fix it in here, that exception's gone. You're good to go. Obviously, you don't need to have this. This is an extra that you can get. It's nice to have. It gives you visibility, it gives you the ability to make mapping. But I wanted to just show to you all that not only can we, help streamline your integrations, but also give you control over them too, which is something a lot of people want. But at no point are you on your own. Even when you have this, it's not a toolkit. You still have our full support, full managed service. All right. Well, that was really about all I had to show and say. Are there any questions for me before I hand it back to Amy here?
None in the chat yet. So
Okay.
hopefully we'll get some. Very quiet crowd today.
That's all right. I'll go ahead and stop sharing.